All right.
Welcome to the Art of Balancing It All podcast, a podcast where we get real about the struggles of trying to balance it all from love, family, self-care, career, and entrepreneurship.
Every 2 weeks, we'll talk to dope guests who will give you the goods on how to succeed in this thing called life.
We are your hosts. I'm Pam Thompson-Smith, better known as The Firm.
And I'm Titi Lyle Ellis, the ambassador of Buzz.
Hey.
All right. To the Art of Balance. Oh, I am Pam Thompson-Smith, also known as The Firm.
And I am Titi Lyle Ellis, known as the Joy Builder Coach. Hello.
Hey, well, we're live tonight. We haven't been live in a long time. Special edition, Art of Balancing It All, man. Tonight is going to be so dope. But before we get started, I cannot start without talking to you about what's going on with you, Joy Builder Coach. It was a big announcement today. Things happened. You got to tell us about it.
It was a big announcement. I released the ebook, How to Build Unbreakable Joy. Yes. And I'm excited about it. You can go to ttlyleellis.com and get the book. You know I'm ready, right? Because I am the ambassador of Buzz.
Yeah, there we go. Look at there. That's hot.
How to Build Unbreakable Joy is available right now. So definitely go out and get it.
Go get it. I got the first copy.
Hey, the first one to see it.
And it has helped me so much. And so I got back my Unbreakable Joy. So y'all go get it. It's amazing. And I'm super proud of you, TT. So I'm just so excited. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. And, you know, I am super, super, super excited about this show. The panel is off the charts. So let's get into it and start introducing our guests. The first one is Elizabeth Overstreet, who is our friend.
Yes.
And also my accountability partner. She is known as the Love Strategist. She is a relationship coach for both women and men, helping them to have healthy, fulfilling, and loving relationships. She's also an author. We got some authors up on this panel. And she's an Amazon bestseller for Love You and He Will Too. Hey, that's word.
Good.
The Smart Woman's Roadmap for Happy and Healthy Relationships. Let's welcome on to the show, Elizabeth Overstreet.
Our friend. Hello.
Hey.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
We are good. Thank you for coming back. You know, we love having you here.
We are super excited to have you.
It's always a fun time.
Always. Well, we've got some other great dope guests. And so I'm super excited. This is a special night for me because I get to introduce one of my favorite people. He is my fam. He is one of the dopest young men around. He has his own podcast as well. He's the host of Brunch with Bradshaw. Bring him up right now. Let's meet Bruce Bradshaw.
What's up, everybody? How are you? Welcome. Thank you for having me. This is going to be a true treat. I think we're going to have a lot of fun tonight.
What's up, fam? I'm so glad to have me talking to you tonight. Yes. He's so dope.
Oh, man. And up next, a gentleman who was once behind the stage from the Art of Balance and all, but was there from the very beginning. We finally get to bring him on to the panel. He is a pastor, a podcast host, and an entrepreneur, Mr. Frank Henderson. Hey, Frank.
Man, hot. Let your boy in. Let's get it in tonight.
What's up, Frank? We have to take a moment to thank you. It's been a year and you believed in us. We sat in a Starbucks and you said, you ladies can do this. And so a year and a couple months later, we're here. And so we want to thank you first. And we're super excited to have you on.
Glad to be here. What an honor.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, coming up next, our final dope guest. Excited to have him. He's a brand new author. They call him the creative mastermind. Let's welcome Jana Avery.
Hey, Jana.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be here. Looking forward to the conversation.
Cool. Yes. And we're super excited to have you here. Wow. So we're here to talk about some really great topics tonight, but we're going to kick it off. We want to talk about Russell Wilson, right? You know, he's one that's vulnerable. He loves his wife. But I have a question for you guys first, for the fellas, because women, we love him. You know, he's just our type of guy. But we want to know, what's the problem with Russell?
What was
He's
that
married
look,
to
Bruce? What was
Sierra.
that look? He literally.
You know, what's your beef with Russell? Come on, fellas, tell us.
Can I go
Let's kick it
first?
off with that. Yes,
Can I
you
go
may.
first? He's lame, for the lack of a better word. He's a lame.
God. Oh God.
He's a lame. Like he's not cool. I don't understand like how you could enjoy yourself unless you just like quiet time. I don't know what excitement he brings other than the football field. I just can't see it. And I guess being a man, I don't know what the attraction is, you know. But hey, to each his own. But he's definitely lame though.
Let me sip my water and let the men finish. Go on, y'all.
I need to sip my water too.
Whoa, I'm thirsty right now.
Lame. I didn't expect to hear that.
I thought that was the common. I thought it was common knowledge.
He came out swinging.
I thought it was common knowledge that he's not a cool, like he's, you know, but I don't think women necessarily need cool.
I think he is cool though.
Really?
We'll talk about that. Let's let the other fellas talk.
Yeah, let's
Tell us what's
Yeah,
going on.
Bruce, go on, bring it on, Bruce. Come on. I'm still in shock.
I think my take on him, I can't say that, I don't know him personally to say that he's lame. I think he's just one of those guys. I like to look at myself and have hope to be one of those guys as well. He's just one of those genuine guys that just is okay with being in love with one woman. And I think that is the perception that had with relationships being taken in such a different direction. You're lame if you're a good guy, and you're the cool guy if you're the bad guy. So he gets looked at as the lame because he's madly in love with just this one woman.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
That's good.
So,
That's good.
And audience, let us know who you're agreeing with right now. Are you on the side or are you on the Bruce side? Which side are you on?
I'd like to add something because I don't think he's lame because he's madly in love. That has nothing to do with his lameness. I'm trying to figure out how he, being lame, got into the relationship in the first place. I don't think he's lame because of his level. I don't think his level of love for his woman doesn't make him lame. I think anybody that thinks that is lame. You know? But so that's not what I'm not judging how he treats his woman or the way he is in his relationship. I'm talking about watching him, and you know, you see cool and you know you don't. And when I look at him, I don't necessarily see like something that you would gravitate to.
Why do I hand you my eyes? That man is fine.
I'm a man. I'm not looking at him physically.
Yes. But
Well, okay, hold on.
I'm here to tell you. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you name someone that doesn't seem lame, I guess, as a celebrity? That's like a cool guy?
I mean, there's tons of them. I mean, I don't have anybody at the top of my head. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not just sitting here saying this guy's cool, this guy's cool, this guy's. We're talking about one specific guy, so I've been thinking about that topic. So I haven't been doing the list of cool guys. That's not what I do either.
Okay.
I think it comes down to their different scales of cool.
This is true.
And I think Russell is definitely cool. I think he is in love with his girl, and he shows it every time he gets a chance. He's not afraid to display it in public. And I think because sometimes as men, we're not taught to be that way. We see it as different. But a lot of times too, we don't, because he plays football, he's got a helmet on. We're not used to seeing him. So when he's out from under the helmet, people have an issue with it because they don't expect him to have that type of voice about his girl. But I think he's people call him a simp, but I just say he's simply in love with his girl.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about.
I love it. I love that. And Frank, that's a good caveat to our next question that we want to talk to Elizabeth about. He's simply in love with his girl. He met her. He immediately knew the role that he wanted to play. So, Elizabeth, is one of the issues sometimes in dating is that we don't want to let the man be accountable for the role that they actually want to play. You know, that we need to ask the hard questions. Why are you here? You know, is your role that you want to be my husband? What, you know, is that part of the issue? Communication and making them accountable for the role that they want to play, but being able to accept what they say that role is.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things in our relationship. I don't think it's as clear cut as they're together, they're doing well. I think they've worked at it. They both came from a place of being in relationships that didn't work. Number one. Number two, they were very intentional about putting spirituality and family first. Like, even though they have two high profile careers and they're very busy, successful people, one of the things I was reading about them recently is they try not to stay away from each other for, you know, a period of time, even though their schedules could easily have them pulled apart, because they recognize they need that interaction to strengthen their relationship. So I think they went into it intentionally and they hold each other accountable. And I think that's a different relationship, because I think sometimes the reason relationships don't work is because we pick underdeveloped people. They're not at our level. They're not ready. We try to fix that. You're here, they're there. And you're like, well, maybe I can bring them here. No, they need to come into it here. You need to work to get here, because there's a merging that's still going to happen here, and there's still going to be conflict here. But imagine if it's like this. This is why when it's like this, constant conflict.
That's good, TT. Undeveloped people.
That's right. That's the word. That's the word. You know, let's be dropping those words down. Ladies, I just want to let you know your toes might get stepped on tonight. Okay. All right. So let's get into another dynamic that Russell Wilson and Sierra brought to light. So let's talk about when single women like Sierra, like a Lori Harvey, date multiple men because they're looking for someone, as Elizabeth said, that's on their level. They're seen as a hoe, straight up. They're seen as a hoe. But men are not looked at the same way. So it's a double standard. And so, Bruce, we want to see what are your thoughts on women.
I dig that.
Coming for you. What are your thoughts on women dating and when it's not right, moving on until they get to that person who's on their level? What's your thoughts on that?
Just for clarity, is it dating more than one person at the same time, or just one person and then on to the next?
We're talking about one person and on to the next. I believe Sierra and Lori, they do the one person and on to the next. And by the way, they ended up with Russell Wilson and Michael B. Jordan. I just want to say that before we start. Let's go.
Well, I wouldn't particularly say that. I believe that they would be classified as hoes. I'm not that guy. My theory on what a hoe, whatever you would like to call it, is completely different. But if she dates a guy 2 weeks, realizes it doesn't work, she goes on to the next. She dates another guy 2 or 3 months, it doesn't work, and she's going and going and going until she finds what she wants. I don't see anything wrong with that. Okay. I wouldn't say that she's a hoe, but I will say if a guy does it, a guy is classified as a hoe.
You flipped on us. Come on now, explain that.
Okay, come, give us some more of that.
Not what I'm used to hearing.
But to me, I mean, if a guy does it realistically, he's probably being labeled as a whore or a hoe because within a 2 week time frame or 2 or 3 months, he's automatically deemed to be looking for sex. So he's looking for one thing. If he doesn't get it, he goes on to the next. If a woman doesn't see what she wants in a guy and she goes on, and for the most part, we're going to safely say she's not looking for sex, she's not classified as a hoe.
Okay. All right. Well, Jana, what's your thoughts on that? Where do you stand?
It's honestly, I think it's about the intent. I agree with Bruce. I don't think a woman is a hoe if I think that's what dating is for. I think dating is to learn what you like and what you don't like and what you need and what you don't need. And you can't do that by dating one person. So if you date one person and you think you're going to learn that, it doesn't work that way. So you have to date more than one person. You have to get into failed relationships. And failed relationships don't mean you're a failure. That means you learned a lesson, all right? So, and again, like to piggyback off what Bruce said, I don't look at women to be hoes that do it that way. I don't necessarily look at men to be hoes to be doing it that do it that way. But I do agree that most times, in my opinion, a man's intention, if he's dating for 2 weeks and then on to the next one, wasn't to get married in the first place. He wasn't trying to learn that much about her. He was trying to sleep with her. And once he either did or did not, he achieved his goal or didn't and realized it was worth it or wasn't and moved on. So I think that's, in that regard, what would make a man more of a hoe for doing it that way than a woman. Now, if a woman's intent is to just sleep around, I still wouldn't label her a hoe because that's not my business to do.
Hey, I like that. I like that. From the audience, we have Isaac who said, we all want the person that best matches us. I have no issue with a woman informing me, communicating that I am one of three she is considering. I appreciate honesty. So he's saying communication is key. Frank, what do you say?
I think having proper expectations is where it's all at. I think that's where the rubber hits the road, like having a proper expectation. In our society today, people don't know how to just like date and go home. It's like they got to pick the girl up or pick the guy up. They got to go to the movie. They got to go to dinner. Then they got to spend the night. And then they got to leave 5 days later. They just need to learn how to just take their time and let whatever develops, develop. You won't know that if you're thinking with the expectation of this going to be my husband or this going to be my wife. Why don't you just let it, shake it out like a Polaroid and see what happens and what develops?
Well, how long does it take the Polaroid to develop? I mean, you shake it. Sometimes it takes 30 seconds. Sometimes it's like a minute. I mean, how long before it develops?
I'll tell you like this. If you going on a date and then you going home and you spending a few days, then what's actually happening is you're not only developing the Polaroid, you're destroying the Polaroid. Mm-hmm. You got to let life develop the same way. Everybody's working their dream job. You didn't get there overnight. It took time to get there. You didn't get to your dream house overnight. Right. So you're not going to get to your dream girl, your dream guy overnight. Take your time, let it develop organically and see where it goes. The reason people have the issues they have now is because they're moving too fast and they need to slow down.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have a question. Okay. Is there a difference between, is there a balance between being organic and being intentional?
I think because you are intentional, you will allow it to be organic. Most people won't allow it to be organic because that with them, they don't have that intentionality. They have like, this is my expectation. This is what I'm looking for. This is what. So then they begin to try to craft that person into what they want them to be. Mm. But you can only be with a person for who they really and truly are. Not the person you made in your mind for them to be, but the person that they truly turn out to be. And the only way to get to that, it takes time.
Well, I'm going to let Elizabeth round this up because as a 40 plus woman, I'm not about spending too much time. So I'm just going to let answer that question. And then we'll hit Janetta.
Can I say one thing? I want to say this to people. And I learned this a long time ago. If you don't have the time to take your time, do you have the time to start over again?
I think, Frank, I think what we should talk about is there's different levels to Polaroids, right? You got the old version of the Polaroid, you got the new Taylor Swift version of the Polaroid. In my eyes, I think you need to measure the Polaroid that you're going to shake and try to develop. But I'll let Elizabeth answer that for us, and then we'll go to Janetta's question that she has because people are rolling with comments right now.
Yes.
I agree with Frank. I think that people rush too much. It's a relationship. Dating is a trial period. Dating is not a commitment. It's a chance for you to get to know someone. And I think the more you force it and you set expectations, the more you set yourself up for failure. The best relationships just evolve naturally. It's not forced. And I agree that people a lot of times go into it thinking or anticipating someone's going to be something versus seeing who they are. And that's what the dating process is for. And I think you're willing to give yourself that time. That's when you can really validate like a yes or no, right? Or maybe. And I think you could see those things pretty quickly. I mean, within 6 months or a year, as you get more mature, you had other dating relationships, right? That didn't work, relationships that didn't work. So you should get clearer. You should be learning from those things you've been through before, which should make you better equipped to like get out of those situations quicker. Because everyone in hindsight always tells you all the things that were wrong with someone. But in the beginning, they kind of just put those things to the side. They were there. But then in the end, they're like, they were horrible, but there was something they liked about them. There was something that they were drawn to initially. So I think that there's that part of just letting things grow. And when things don't fit, having the power to like walk away from them if it doesn't serve you.
That makes
good.
sense.
That's
That
good.
makes sense. That's
TT, there was someone that said we needed to talk about the difference between dating and a committed relationship.
Yeah.
And when you're dating, that I think the person said that most men have an issue with you saying you're dating other people, but yet they're not trying to be in a committed relationship. So guys, talk to us about that.
If you meet a
I didn't
woman,
understand this question.
So she said that there's a big difference between dating and moving to the next, and being in a committed relationship. And if you're dating a man and you're telling him that I'm dating other people, that most men can't handle that.
I know I can't.
Uh-oh, there we go.
Not at all.
I'm gonna be honest with you. If when I meet a woman, if I'm attracted to her and I want to, and we're only in a dating stage, we're not in a relationship stage, I assume other people are interested in her also. I don't assume she's lonely. I assume that there's somebody there vying for that attention. So that I don't assume that I'm the only person. I don't assume that I'm the only person until she tells me it does. My assumptions don't matter until we cross the bridge and we decide that I'm going to be the only person until she makes that decision. I have no bearing on that. So I have to accept what she tells me if I want to deal with that woman. I could choose to walk away, but I'm man enough to know that I can hold my position and be there.
Okay. Go ahead, Jana. I can hold my own. The competition.
I can hold that because there's only one of me. If she want to be with me, she'll be with me. I'm me. He can't be me.
That sounds great.
It's true.
All right, Bruce, you next.
It's true.
I was with you in the very beginning. That's why I asked, how long does that last? Because if we start talking or dating, whatever, I'm gonna give it the first 2 or 3 weeks. Obviously, when I met you, I'm assuming that you were involved with whomever, right? But after I start investing my time, I'm gonna put it on the line. If I'm serious about you, hey, we got to get rid of that trash. If you're gonna focus on me, I want all of your attention. I'm gonna give you all of my attention.
I don't need
that's just the open conversation in the very beginning. But if you tell me, oh, I can't get with that, I'm not cutting nobody off, I'm gonna keep my options open, I'm gonna tell you, have a good day, and I'm gonna go the other way.
Thank you.
I mean, and that's everybody's option. I don't need all that.
See, I believe that when you first meet a person, they probably have some stragglers, because I don't think grown people are sitting at home at night not talking on the phone to somebody or not going out with somebody. But when you have to bottleneck the situation as you get more serious, you have to begin to clip, just like a rocket. The higher it go, the more it clips, the more things drop off. It's the same way in life. If you find a person that you want to be with, then eventually y'all have to bottleneck and say, what are we going to do? Are we going to be exclusive? If we're going to be exclusive, at least we are saying to one another, let's see what we can be together.
Right.
But we can't do that with like 2 or 3 distractions on the side.
But that's a we thing. That's not a you making a decision saying this is the time limit. That's a we thing. She's got to be involved in that. And that's my standpoint. When she's ready for that decision, that's up to her.
Right.
I'm not enforcing that. I'm not enforcing
How long you staying?
To a month until I stop enjoying myself. If I don't enjoy myself and I don't feel good in this situation anymore, then I move on. But if it's still valuable to me, then I'm there. I don't care.
You don't care how many men she got, she's involved with. You staying even if you're still enjoying.
That's her business. I don't have anything to do with that.
Oh Lord.
That's her business.
And most people be real straight. Be straight up, like 100. Most people can take that position if they on the other side with a lot of options too.
There you go.
That's usually what's thought. That's usually what's thought. I can guarantee that's usually what's thought, because I've dealt with that sentiment several times. But what people realize though is the freedom is what allows you to sit still a lot of times for a lot of people.
And sometimes because people have options, they will miss out on some of the greatest relationships that they never allow to fully bloom.
Preach.
Come on,
part.
Preach.
Come
I can agree
on,
with
Frank.
that.
Can you
Frank,
say
you
that
better
for the
talk.
people in the back and the ones that
I
come
can agree
on
with that.
later?
Preach,
Say it
Frank.
one more time.
They will
Everybody
miss out
dropping
on some of the
down.
greatest things because they got all these options.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't disagree if that's what you want.
Okay.
If that's what you want for your life, then I don't disagree at all. But if that's not where happiness lies for you, then I don't know why you would follow a dictate just because that's what seems to be normal. Doesn't make sense to me.
Okay.
So to me, in a relationship, I think it has to be. I read this in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Mhm.
And Stephen Covey said it always has to end up win-win or no deal.
Mm.
Win-win or no deal.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be just me winning because of how I feel. It
Right.
can't be just you winning because of how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
We both got to win, or we need to take the deal off the table.
That's a fact.
Right.
That's how I look at it.
That's true. Elizabeth, what are your thoughts on this? Where do you stand?
I think Jana, we need to talk later on the one-on-one, but we'll talk later. Because I think sometimes people use options as a way not to deal with things too. Because it's easy to float sometimes, right? Because if you float, then there's no commitment, there's no accountability, there's no change. But really, at the end of the day, sometimes those same people are struggling because they really do want to connect, but they think they're protecting themselves by not connecting. So by keeping all these options around you that you think are options, you actually are limiting the real option that could really be the right connection for you. So it's just interesting what you're saying about that. But I do agree. Some people don't want to be in a relationship and they just want to have relationships. They want to date multiple people. That's their, if they want to do that, that's your prerogative. But sometimes I think there's something hidden beneath that. Like it's almost a self-protective barrier. So you don't have to deal with what comes with a relationship. You know,
I think there's a difference between exclusivity and commitment, though. And I think because there's a lack of exclusivity that I'm speaking of, that you are lessening a level of commitment that I'm willing to share or willing to give. And I think that's a little bit disrespectful, but we can talk off.
Yeah, no disrespect. No disrespect.
I know it's not intended. I just think it's. I don't think I think disrespect wasn't the right word. I just think it's a little off of the bullseye that you think you're on. I think my level of commitment isn't necessarily gauged by my level of exclusivity.
That's interesting.
Okay, that's interesting.
I guess he gonna play basketball, football, baseball, softball, everything at the same time. That's home, baby bubba.
I like that. That's good. Good conversation.
Yes,
Woo.
yes. Seneca, I hope I'm saying your name right. He says, if she's seeing other people and you're hanging on because you're enjoying yourself, you're making yourself an option for when she needs something because she knows you're going to be there, and it makes it easy for her to just not be alone. So, all right. So but one thing that Elizabeth just talked about is vulnerability, right? Being vulnerable and going in places that you don't quite feel comfortable. And that's what the next conversation we want to talk about is. One thing that was quite controversial for Russell Wilson recently is when he shared that his greatest fear, hallelujah, is to lose Sierra. He said that is his greatest fear, and men everywhere ripped him apart. It was definitely a moment of vulnerability for him. So let's talk masculinity and vulnerable. Why are men so afraid of it? And what does it take to get men comfortable enough to be vulnerable in their relationships? Let's start with Frank.
Well, in order for me to be comfortable, I need you to be focused, and I need you to be like on point. I get real comfortable. But for him to say what he said about having that type of fear, it's good to a degree, but I think it brings in more toxicity than health, because if you're looking at it from a man's standpoint and overcoming fears and being vulnerable on all of those levels, then what he has to do is state that exactly how he feels it. Then she has to state back, baby, I would never leave you. I didn't see that come back. So somewhere in his mind, something has been said or done that he really believes that he can lose her.
Yep.
So until that is fixed inside internally, he's gonna have that little glitch about that or whatever's going on. And it could be a million things. It could be that, hey, I play football, I'm under a helmet, I don't see a lot of people. I was just dressing a certain way. You came in, you showed me a whole lot of levels to go to with style and substance. And you on the other side, you're used to all kinds of men all over the world fiending, drooling for you. So he got that little piece of insecurity that she has to address.
I have a question. So him making the statement was from an insecure place, is what you're saying?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And nobody is 100% secure in the world.
No,
one that is like that.
Of course not. But I don't know that statement was from an insecure place. It may have been from a heartfelt place. Like, I really don't want to lose this woman. Like, and he has absolutely no control over that because she's a whole human outside of him.
True.
So you're gonna, if you don't have a fear of that, if you think you have any control over the fact that you don't lose your woman other than your actions, then you crazy anyway.
I'm saying it this way, okay? I'm the preacher, I'm the pastor. I'm saying it this way. It says, perfect love casts out fear. If you have fear, it's because you haven't been matured in love. So somewhere there's something going on where the love is not established, solid, and perfect. And you got to think about it. When you look at 35-year-old people that have been together 5 years, they got 30 years of history. That person knows nothing about it. That person's got to grow to know conditioning, responses in relationships. So he could be just letting his vulnerability out, and it's something that has to be addressed in a relationship. But it is definitely coming from an insecure place.
I think that statement could simply be him saying how much he loved his woman. Like, it ain't got to be no deeper than that. Like, I don't think having a fear of losing somebody that you love is an insecurity. Like, I think that's a strength, actually, because you may actually make you work harder to keep this woman or ask her the questions that you need answered to keep her in your life. You know what I mean? Like, expressing that sentiment doesn't make it a weakness. It's a strong suit, in my opinion, because it opens the door for that communication for you to be able to keep it if that's what you want to do.
Well, you know, as they say, time gonna be everybody's friend. It brings everything out. We're gonna see.
Bruce,
Kim and Kanye were talking like this too. Remember, Kim and Kanye were talking like this too.
Well, I knew that was a rap from the jump. Like, you couldn't see that. If you couldn't see that was a train wreck from the jump. I mean, come on,
jeez. Yeah, Bruce, in your head though, Bruce. You were agreeing with Frank. Let's see.
I'm definitely agreeing with Frank yet again.
But
you know, and just being a part of this social media platform, I look at something like that and I say, if it was genuine, he would probably have that conversation amongst his peers. If it was genuine, I understand posting something like that on social media, but I can't say myself that I would post that. And I think I'm very secure in my own self. I may have areas of insecurities, but to me, that was a cry for help. That was him. Something, like you said, Pastor, something may have happened in that relationship where he felt like his relationship was on the line, and now people are questioning whatever's going on behind those closed doors. We can say, because we want to be supportive of the cause, that, oh, that man is just being genuine, or he's being vulnerable and he did it for the fans and everybody else. Sure, I think it's one of those things that sounds good politically if we're to be correct. But the reality is, we all know, we all look further into whatever anybody posts on social media. So the guys are going to say, oh man, you know, that he's showing signs of weakness. And the women are going to say, well, oh my God, I want that same love too. I want somebody to be madly in love with me like that as well. Mm-hmm. It can go either way. But the reality is, I'm going to sit here and comfortably say there's probably something going on behind the closed doors that we just don't know about.
But let's talk about the family dynamics, right? Because he has these beautiful kids too. So if he loses his wife, he loses his kids. And let's talk a little bit about how Russell grew up. Russell, he came out and said that the reason why he chose Sierra, or what he was looking for before he found Sierra, was that he wanted a love like his parents had. So he had watched his parents. He wanted someone who loved him like his mom loved his dad and his dad loved his mom. So is it that he just fears losing that family unit? Could it be deeper than just losing the wife? What are your thoughts on that?
It could be.
Yeah.
I mean, sure. Like it could be.
They're like, yeah, right.
I mean, yes. The man loves his woman. How do we start the episode about how proud we are of how unconditionally he loves this woman and how out loud he loves this woman, and then say he's insecure about how he does it because he does it a certain way? That's ridiculous. That doesn't make sense.
I don't think he unconditionally loves her. I don't think anybody unconditionally loves you. I think that's something you could do to sink your battleship.
Well, I'll tell you what, we might see this a little different, but I'm gonna say there may be something that can sink your battleship, right? Which being the relationship. But love, I do believe, is unconditional, because once I love somebody, I love them. I might not deal with them no more, but I love that person.
That's not unconditional.
The relationship has conditions. The love does not. How I handle you has conditions. My love for you does not.
But you said unconditional love. You didn't say unconditional relationship.
Because my love still remains. It's 100% still there. I just don't handle you the same way. I don't hate you. I don't love you any less.
Love is an action word. Love in the middle.
I'm done with I'm done with the cliches. I'm talking about what I really do in my real life. I'm not talking about these action words and all that. That ain't what I'm talking about. I'm talking about.
I think there's some girls. There's some girls in my past. I told them I love them. I ain't with them.
If you told them you love them, did you love them though? Is what I'm asking.
I did, but I ain't with them. Why?
Do you still love them now?
I don't believe you did. Is what I'm saying. I don't believe you actually love them.
Conditions at the table.
Are we talking in love or just love?
I'm talking love. I don't care nothing about in love.
Okay. I get what you're saying. Okay.
I don't care nothing about in love. I'm talking about love.
The love that stands the test of time.
That's the love I'm talking about.
That's the love we're talking about. Okay, so
that's good.
So Elizabeth, when we're talking about this vulnerable moment, what do you think was in Russell's mind? And then we're going to shift it a little bit about giving men advice, or giving, not even just men. This is not a gender topic. What do people who have been hurt, what do they need to do? What advice would you give them when they need to be more vulnerable, but they just don't know how to? So it's a two-part question.
Well, there's a couple of things that I'm hearing with the guys, which is pretty interesting. I think love is about vulnerability. It's straight up vulnerability, because there's this risk that you go into the situation and you put energy into it and it may not work out. It's risk. Love is risky. So personally, just going back to the Russell thing first, I don't think it was wrong for him to say it. I think there's a history in our community, honestly, that has kind of negated how we express our feelings, because our families have been torn apart historically. And I think that he has a high value on family and his wife. And I think that he was just being straight up like, look, if I lost this woman, I don't know what I would do. I would be hurt. He was putting it out there. He was saying things we feel about people, but we may not put out there. So I don't feel like it was because he was insecure. I think actually he's very secure to put out his feelings, because that takes a lot of courage for someone to say that, because he's a guy, he's a football player, he's an athlete. We don't hear athletes talk like that. We see the other side of athletes, but we don't normally see an athlete that's super family oriented. And I think we've lost some of that, culturally, that value on family, that value on a partner. Because I was talking to my dad about this. My dad and mom were married over 57 years, but my mom recently passed. So that ended their marriage, right? But I told my dad, I just don't feel like they make men the way they used to, meaning and women, back in the day, people it wasn't that they didn't have conflict or they didn't have challenges. They just stuck it out. They were like, we're in this, divorce is not an option. We're going to work through it. And they worked through it. So going back to your point, TT, I think we have to relearn vulnerability. We have to relearn what that feels like and how to express it. And that might mean seeking out a mental health counselor or talking it through, because a lot of us have traumas that we're carrying from our childhoods, the relationships we observed of our parents, aunts, uncles, grandfathers that we saw as norms that are not norms. that are wrong, that need to be better. And we carry it into our relationships. And we're like, hey, I'm gonna be hard. I'm gonna do this. I'm not gonna show my feelings because that's not cool. That's not manly. That's not feminine. I'm gonna be a hard chick. I'm gonna practice this way because this is the way my mama or daddy did it. And it didn't warrant good results. Like, we saw the dysfunctionality of how that affected our family. So I think there's two sides to this story. And I think he was leaning into the fact that he did see his parents have this kind of love. And I think people forget Russell was married before, and it didn't work. And we don't know we don't know why, but I'm sure there's things he learned from that. And he was like, I'm really going to value my family. That's my, important to me. So I think that it's just interesting how people view it. But I think there's so much historically to why we're at this place having this conversation and seeing people express these things. And I don't think it's all our fault. I just think things that have happened to our families, things we've seen, and things we practice. But I feel like we got to break these cycles.
Good one.
That's good. Elizabeth, someone, Isaac, said something very similar to what you were saying and wanted to bring out. He said that it's hard for some men to be vulnerable because you're taught to be hard.
You're taught to be hard. Men aren't taught to cry. Men aren't taught to show, when as soon as a guy cries, especially Black men and everything they have to deal with, they're like, hey, you got to man up. You can't be showing your feelings. You can't show that you have vulnerability. That's weakness. So like that's embedded in a man. But in reality, the men we see that don't show or express emotion over time, that is a really hurting person usually. There's a lot of anger, there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of emotions because they're holding it all internally. They're not getting it out. And so I think that is part of it. I think we have to tell our young boys not to be like totally crying all the time, because that there's a balance to it, but that they will have a range of emotions, and teaching our kids healthy ways to deal with those emotions, so that when they get to adulthood and they're having a relationship or they're observing our relationships, they're seeing us practice it, and we're teaching them how to practice these behaviors, because all of it carries to our families, and our families are our communities. And until we build our families, the community will always be broken.
I love that. Love it.
That's really, really good. Do we have any more questions on vulnerability before we go to our next segment? That was good. I think Yolanda says if you want a person to be vulnerable, you have to massage it out of them.
Yeah, actually went on there and said, tell us about that, Yolanda. Give us some examples while we're talking.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was wondering what she meant by it.
Yeah. So come in the comments, Yolanda, and tell us what you're thinking.
Bruce, you were moving around over there. Anything else you want to say about being vulnerable? Yeah. How easy is being vulnerable for you, Bruce?
I'm sorry?
How easy is being vulnerable for you?
It's a walk in the park. It's my everyday. It's when I wake up. I mean, once I accepted my life, once I accepted the man that I am, once I developed that level of comfort, I mean, I can't base my vulnerability on somebody else. So for me, again, I wake up, I am who I am and how I am. I don't have to hide anything. I am my own man. And that's the part that I value the most about myself. So being vulnerable, I mean, I completely understand it from a relationship perspective, and I highly think it's important. But as Elizabeth said, we're not taught that. We're taught by our uncles, our grandfathers, our fathers. We need to be these manly style men and, never show emotions, don't cry. Sure, I know that they're just trying to teach us to be stern and be men at the end of the day. But a man, I can't say that my father would have taught me, hey, it's okay to cry. So I just believe, as Elizabeth said, our upbringings have been what they are. They're just different. But as a man grows and becomes comfortable in his own skin, he learns his own vulnerability. Everybody's vulnerability doesn't look the same. Being vulnerable is not always just crying. Again, everybody has their own style. And for me, being vulnerable is just, I feel like it's just I wake up and I am who I am.
Nice.
That's good. That's good. We're going to go to our next segment, which we're excited that Jana is a new author. So we want to talk a little bit about your book.
Yeah.
What my women friends know.
Yep. I'm telling all my business.
Tell it. What my women friends know. So tell us a little bit about this book and, what do they know? What did they tell you?
Well, nah, they didn't tell me anything. It's
Uh-oh.
Oh, where'd he go? This was
Did he go
was
out?
good.
This is
Oh
moment.
man, just when it was getting real good.
That's what it was
Oh,
good. Looks like he
it's
may have
based on
froze.
conversation. Yeah, we froze. I saw. I just wanted. All right, we good?
We're good.
we back.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I just came up with 10 quick rules, I guess I would say, that you could follow to help you avoid a womanizer. That's really what it's about. And it's in my opinion, it's things that I think women probably already know, but they don't apply it when they meet scum. So they internally they keep falling for the same stuff. So if they would try to fall back just a little bit and apply some of these rules, then they would weed out the scum pretty easily.
Can you give us one? Just one?
Yeah,
No.
we want to buy the book, but can you give us just like one
Nah,
or two?
not doing it.
Give us some.
Not doing it.
I can't believe you, Johnny. You gotta drop
Just one. Just drop
You
one.
gotta
So we
He's
can
like,
go
you
get
gotta buy the book. He's like, gotta buy
Yeah.
the book.
Well, I tell y'all what, invite me back on, and I'll tell y'all when the book signing is, and I'll do a live reading for a chapter at that point. We're not telling rules. My social media doesn't do it. It's designed so you don't get the rules of the book, but you get promo for the book. So I'm not doing it. I appreciate it. Yeah.
This is what happens when you deal with a creative and a marketer. They know what they're doing.
They know exactly. He definitely knows what he's doing.
Knows what he's doing.
But we do want to like caveat with a little discussion about what we think, some of the things in the book. So when we talk about womanizing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people say that women cheat as much as men, right?
Right.
So tell us, what your thoughts are about that we don't want to say that it's just men. I think is that your book focused just on men doing the cheating, but we want to have a little conversation about that.
Yeah, I think definitely women cheat as much and as often as men. I think they do it a lot better. So we hear about it a lot less. Like, I don't think you typically know your woman cheated until she wants you to know. And when you find out, it's a point being proven to you. That's how I see that. But the book's not necessarily about cheating or men cheating. It's about men being hoes and being allowed to be so because women continue to sleep with this same type of particular guy when they don't have value long term. That's what the book is about. How to avoid the guys that don't have value long term when you're seeking a long term relationship.
Right.
So if you're engaging in a person, I will tell you something because I don't know if you'll be able to find it in the book the way I'm going to say it now. So I will tell you this. A lot of times what you do is women on a date and you're speaking to a man and you give him the blueprint for exactly what he needs to do to score. Just in conversation, all he's got to do is listen because you're telling him everything that went wrong before. So all he's got to do is quickly correct what's going on and move into position because you're intently looking for something. He's just trying to play a game. And Bruce, I see you scrunching your face. I'm not talking about good guys. I'm not talking about good men here. I'm not talking about the dudes who's trying to. You see what I'm saying? I'm talking about the scoundrels, bro.
Hey,
I'm not speaking for you, and I know because I see you. You like
Ryan Ray. One of I think all of us know Ryan. He just said, "Bro, you just messed a bunch of brothers up with the book."
If I just messed a bunch of brothers up, then the book is doing what it's supposed to do. That's the goal. I'm telling on myself, these are things that I did when I was younger. Not all of them. I didn't do all of them, and I didn't do all of them on purpose. I just realized that this is the cycle of what's happening. And I actually, good, please.
Come on in, Bruce.
Not being funny.
Yeah.
This is a serious question.
Yes.
What was your purpose or reasoning for wanting to do this book, if you don't mind me asking?
At the time that I wrote the book, I had a burgeoning teenage daughter, and I wanted her to have the rules so she can avoid assholes. Excuse my French. That's why I wrote the book.
Now that's a purpose.
Purpose.
It just so happened though, she actually found a husband. She's married. She's in a great relationship. She doesn't need the book at all. That's a blessing. She doesn't need the book. She's got
There's
a
some
good
ladies
man.
that need the book though.
Yeah, there's definitely women that need the book, especially in her age demographic, like in her age group. There definitely women. I don't know that women my age need the book. I don't want to talk myself out of sales because I think it could actually help people in our age bracket. But I do think that it could help younger women a lot more. So if you're of my age and you have young women in your life, when the book comes out, buy it, give it to them.
Okay.
Actually, I will tell you this too. In the introduction, it says that you should buy yourself a copy, and you should buy 2 more copies, one for your best friend and one for your best aunt or your mom. So when you start acting crazy again, they can give you the copy that you gave them, so you can remind yourself.
I like that. Frank, I see you. You know, I see you. We got to bring you in on womanizing and if it's a double standard, and just talk to us.
Well, I think that men womanize out of hurt, out of insecurity, out of wanting for someone to tell them, like, good job, attaboy. You know what I mean? And I think that if I went back in my life and think about the women that I did wrong, it had a lot to do with that. Growing up without a father, along those lines. So you look for that type of that boost that you get from that, saying, like, yeah, she said this, yeah, I took care of that. So a lot of guys do that because of that hurt that they have inside of them. I call it a cool pose. And, it's like we try to be chill and cool, like we are all right, but you could tell the guys that are the most messed up because they just got these rolling eyes. They're never satisfied. They're insatiable because they're just really looking for somebody to pat them on the back in a healthy, nourishing way to help them become what they need to become. And sometimes women don't know that because they don't know that. They just think he in there he just hanging out the chandeliers because he fit, or he just whatever. But he really trying to get you to say, you're the best ever.
Oh my.
That's what they want.
It was definitely an ego boost. Like, it was definitely a lot of what you said involved when I was young. Like, that's just the truth.
Question.
Yes.
Just a question. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah. I gotta come for y'all a little bit.
Please.
And this is for clarity. This is for me. I feel like, I'm one of the younger guys on there. I'm 35. So I'm in that bracket up for this book. But I do want to ask the question. Is he a womanizer because he's looking, and again, this is clarity. Is he classified as a womanizer because he's looking for an attaboy, like, good job at whatever it is that he did?
No, I think that's the root cause, is what he was saying.
The root cause is because he's looking for affirmation. I think that's what Frank was saying. Like the root cause.
But what really makes him a womanizer is because he keeps doing it to different women.
Right. So that's what I was saying. The root
sometimes in the same season.
Yeah. The root cause is the hurt. The womanizing is the action.
Okay.
I think is what he was saying.
That's what I'm saying. So if somebody leave your house at 8 o'clock and then somebody show up at 11 and then somebody show up at 2 a.m.
Frank.
Hey, Joe,
that's a whole.
I'm just keeping it real. We know what's up.
That's something else there. I can't write no book on that one.
Yeah.
Frank, we won't ask you if you're talking off experience.
Frank, tell too much. Let's move on. Okay. So before we transition to our second topic, we just want to ask the question we actually had in the topic. Is Russell Wilson an anomaly? Elizabeth, what are your thoughts on that?
I want to hear what the guys have to say on that first. You guys are fascinating. Very interesting perspectives.
She said you guys are fascinating.
So we'll start with Frank then. Is he an anomaly?
I think he is an anomaly because he's definitely deviated from the standard of the norm. And so most guys, like right now, I know a gospel artist. There's incredible gospel artists married and nobody knows it. See what I'm saying? So for this man to come out and to say, I love Sierra, I love our life together. If Future don't do nothing, I got them. I got little Future. I'm gonna help her in every way, level up on every level. My wallet is hers. Anything I got is hers. All my
Come
worldly
on
goods
now.
to her, I give. Yeah, he's an anomaly.
Yeah, that's all that. Yeah,
Jana said, yeah, yeah, all
yeah,
that.
that's all that. He got to be an anomaly because
He's
I
an
don't
anomaly.
think people gonna do all that. Not all of that.
All right.
Not all
Okay.
of it.
Okay.
I am going to disagree.
All right. Let's see.
I'll say it. I don't mind it. I don't think he's an anomaly. If we're saying that because he's a celebrity, he's in the lights, that's the only part I would say that's the anomaly as far as him being on a celebrity platform. But I think I have a lot of friends. I know a whole bunch of people, a lot of these guys that are out here that are married, that are good guys, but because they don't have that platform, they don't have that status, right? They're not looked at as a big deal. To me, I think it's a bunch of guys that are out there that are the anomaly that we're speaking of, if we want to call it that. But again, I think just because it's Russell Wilson and Sierra, you have two celebrities that came together, and he seems to be different than the majority of the celebrities that are out there. He looks different on their platform. But if we're looking at the regular guys, your average Joe, your everyday married guy, that what's the difference between him and them?
I agree, but I think that is what makes him the anomaly. The
He's
fact that
a
he
celebrity
is
anomaly.
right. Not just as if he was a regular man. I agree with exactly what you're saying. But with the level of I saw right with the level of access and all that stuff he has in that realm, I think he is an anomaly. You know what I mean? But I agree with you saying. There's tons of guys. My brother is that type of man.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I know men like that for sure. But yeah, if for a celebrity to be that type of man, I think it's rare that they show it.
I don't think
Right.
like that he's an anomaly because he's a celebrity. I think he's an anomaly. I think because women look at him as being that ideal man, family oriented, into his wife, but it also feels like his wife is equally into him. I don't think it's one sided. I think they both love each other. I think that they've been through stuff because we remember the Future drama, how Future was trying to really like pull Russell into, you ain't my baby, you're not my kid's father. They had to deal with that early on in their relationship. I think they've been through stuff that's brought them together because Sierra admitted she had been in some really unhealthy, jacked up relationships. She was picking the guys Jana is writing rules about. She had to have this realization, this come to Jesus moment, literally like, okay, I got to sit back. I got to get my spirituality intact. And, one of my philosophies is about self-love too. Like she had to build her foundation of who she was. And I feel like that's where he is too. So I don't think it's an anomaly to find a guy like that or a woman like that, but it's about looking at kind of where they come from and if they're willing to like really be self-accountable to change that paradigm. So then when they're in a relationship, it's just a totally different relationship. So I think that's what we're seeing between the two of them. I don't think they still have conflict. They still have imperfections in their relationship. But I think what we just see is just pure admiration and respect for one another. And that's very attractive to us. We're like, man, where do I find that? Where do I get that? Because sometimes it's hard to find that in a relationship.
That's true. That's true. Wow, this has been a great conversation. All right. Well, we know we have to close, but we also want to talk about a hot topic. We can't leave without talking about Kirk Franklin. Okay. So we're going to talk just a little bit about that. And he's been on a couple shows lately. And he said, I respect my son, but I'm not his equal. I'm his dad. So, Frank, we're going to start with you because I know you got sons. Like, tell us what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I got sons. 3 of those boys. Definitely. I heard everything Kirk said, and I respect Kirk. And I read some of the stuff his son has written. I got respect for the son, too. I think that, mutual contribution between the two of them has been disrupted. And I will say it this way. I would love to see a lot of healing come down in that situation. But this is what I believe. This is me. This is just what I believe. I believe that when God delivers you a 6 or a 7 pound package in the form of a child, that usually the toxicity begins from the parent to the child. And I think it's always the parents, never the children. But I do think that as the children learn how to survive the parents, they will take some of that toxicity and give it back to them. So I think that it begins with Kirk saying, whatever I got to do to make this right with my son, that's what I got to do. I've been through that with my own children and been on an apology tour to sit with them because I had things in me and how I was raised and the way I was treated that I felt like I could bring to my children and treat them that way. But I had to come to the place that if I'm going to have my children and my grandchildren in my life, I'm going to have to humble myself, go talk to them, let them talk to me freely, and then so that we can have a healthy relationship, because I don't want to be the old dude sitting in the corner in 30 years that don't nobody talk to. I want to be the dude that say, hey, that's my dad, that's my granddad, that's my great granddad, and we have a awesome relationship. But it takes work for everybody to get the toxicity out of the situation.
That's right. That's good.
Frank, was such a vulnerable moment. Look at you practicing vulnerability.
Go ahead. Bruce, what about you?
I'm not gonna lie. Frank got me again. I was over here a little choked up a little bit. I got sons, Frank. I got 4 boys.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
When I heard what happened with Kirk and his son, and one of the relationships I do, I'll be transparent. One of my relationships that I do have my oldest son, it is pretty much non-existent, you know. And I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm like, you know what? I need to call my baby. I need to humble myself. I need to come back down to earth, you know, toxicities. But staying on topic, for Kirk, I 100% agree. I think he was in the right. I can't particularly say on this part that I agree with his son for recording it. I think that was just one of those, and I think his son is like 30s or something like that. So he's not a child. He's not 14, 15. He knows better. So as a man, I look at you and I have to judge that man. Who am I to judge? I'm just being honest. I judge. Okay, sure. But I just disagree with what his son did. If they have their own personal issues or beefs or whatever the case may be, y'all are men. Go chalk it up. Y'all know how we do. Go to the side. You know what I'm saying? We can, do what we do. But for Kirk to just say, and I get it in his position, I think the biggest issue that everyone had or wanted to deem him to be this bad guy is because he was a public figure as a Christian who cursed. And so we all act like we've never cursed before in the Christian community. So we looked at Kirk like, how dare you, Kirk, that you are out of order. But no, I can't disagree with that. He felt those words. I believe he believed those words. Like his song Stomp, he will stomp on his son's neck. So, every now and then, sometimes, Kirk ain't the biggest guy in the world. You got to do what you got to do. So I'm on Kirk's side, and I think he could have handled it maybe differently. As you said, we have to humble ourselves, and I received that as well. Maybe he could go on an apology tour, but I think with children who live this now privileged lifestyle, they become, I've done all this. Thank you for everything that you gave me, but now I have my own walk. I don't agree with his son at all. I agree with Kirk. I might be the bad guy, but I do want to say, Frank, I am going to take what you said. I'm going to apply it to my own self. Awesome. I do want to take that away from the show tonight. Thank you, Frank.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's great.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with Kirk Franklin and what he said. I think you kind of do at the situation. Even if it's your son, you have to realize that you are speaking to another grown man. So when you take things to a certain level, talking to a grown man, you have to be cognizant of how that grown man may respond. This grown man responded by posting it online, but it could have went left, and he could have went and did something physical to his own dad. You see what I'm saying? So that's you don't know what buttons you're pushing. So you should kind of temper what it is you're saying to people and how you're saying it. I don't really care who it is. You have to be careful, and if you want respect, I think you have to respect kids as much as you expect your kids to respect you. I don't know what their relationship was. And I don't follow Kirk Franklin, so I don't know, or his son, so I don't know anything about any of them other than the music. I just know it just seemed a bit odd for them to be going at each other like that on social media. If it wasn't on social media, I don't think it would have been a big deal. I think they would have been able to take care of it and handle it between men. And I hope that's what ultimately happens. And I don't think he needs to go on anybody's apology tour. He was talking to his son.
You know, the wild thing about it is that I think God is good in the sense that, you know, it says everybody that he loves, he chastens. I think this is good for Kirk and good for his son. And I think it's going to fall out for their healing. I think they're both going to be dealt with in the sense of we can't let this be the case with us anymore. Facts. Because I think, you know, going back to the womanizing, and you got Russell Wilson and you got all these things, it goes back to if you truly love a woman and she gives you a child, that's an extension of her too. Mm-hmm. Respect that. Respect that. Respect the fact that this is the only person that's giving me this. Can I respect that? If I love you, can I love what we created? Even if we're not together, can I love what we created? Can I get myself together to make sure that I don't disrespect any piece of that relationship or anything that came out of it?
Powerful gem.
So
that's easier said than done when you're young and stupid.
Well, as a parent, like I have conversations with my daughter. She's grown now, and there's definitely things that I've learned over time that I would have done differently. And I think every parent has that experience. And even as I talk to my dad, we talk about it too. I think in his situation, his son was wrong to record it because that is manipulative, you know, and there was a history. They said him going through counseling and having some issues with that son. But on the other end, I think, again, because Kirk probably grew up, his dad or mom may have said, you know, talk to him that way. It's something he probably was imitating, right? Because it was effective.
He didn't have that. He didn't have
it. Okay, so he I don't know his history either. Like I don't follow him either, except I did hear about this incident. So it's like he is either trying to use something that he think could work, but I do think there's a line too on that, like how you talk to your kids, you know, and how you interact with them. But I do like the fact that he was accountable about it and that he said they are going through counseling because he recognizes it's a gap for him. But like Frank said, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead and finish.
You know what's funny? Let's say like if a girl comes to us and says, you know, this guy sexually harassed me, we're taught to believe him. Mm-hmm. We're taught to like, let's get this straight. How many people in this Me Too movement have been sat down out of a job? No job. This situation, if that boy hadn't recorded it, you'd have never believed Kirk did it. You'd have never believed Kirk said it. You'd walk around because it's your boy, Kirk Franklin. It's your buddy, your pal, your friend. Son the best.
You're right. But it's none of our business that Kirk said it. But it's none of our business that Kirk said it. That's my point. It ain't our business that Kirk said that to his son. That's kind of how I see it.
I'll say it like this.
We shouldn't know.
If that's the case, it was not our business what Bill Clinton did.
It wasn't.
Look, but if you are a public figure,
y'all still mad about that one.
If you are a public figure and you're telling people how to live their life, you're gonna incur a stricter judgment. Mm-hmm. See, the quiet people, don't nobody say nothing to them. But the mouthy people gonna come back to make sure they gonna come for you for your words.
That's true.
That's all happened.
Yep. That is true. Well, thank you, panel. Again, we leaving it on an intense note with the current situation. I hope everyone who joined us tonight, did you let us know, give us some hand claps. Let us know if you enjoyed this conversation about Russell Wilson and our Kirk Franklin, the incident that happened this week. So thank you, panel, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me.
We really enjoyed it. This was an intense conversation. I love seeing men being open and being vulnerable. And then Elizabeth always brings that level head to the situation.
Yes.
So I appreciate that so much. If you want to find out how you can get in touch with Jana to get this book that he won't even give us one tip from.
Just one.
I'm gonna buy your book, bro.
We're going to go get it. We're going to buy it.
I appreciate it. I really appreciate it.
We will post this episode on theartofbalancingitall.com, along with how you can get in touch with each and every one of our panelists, how you can get to Bruce Bradshaw for his podcast, Brunch with Bradshaw, how you can get connected with Elizabeth Overstreet for the new rules of dating, and you can even have one-on-one consulting with her, how you can get in touch with Frank Henderson for Epic Church, which is about to blow up.
Yes.
So visit us at theartofbalancingitall.com. It will be up there shortly. Thank you for joining us this week on the Art of Balancing It All. Make sure that you visit the site. Make sure that you join our tribe and that you subscribe to the show. We are available on every podcast platform that you are listening to. So be sure to subscribe.
That's right. Be sure to also follow us on social media at The Art of Balancing It All on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you like the show, let us know, because we're going to continue to bring dope guests like tonight. Once again, we're going to bring them back. So again, thanks everyone for listening. Thank you, guests, and thank you, panel. And we'll see you again real soon.
Bye.